Hello, I'm Janet Moreno, the Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to our program. And of course, Christmas is just days away, followed right behind it New Year's. And, everyone's all happy and excited, but not everyone. And maybe you know someone who's had a pregnancy loss, or you yourself have lost a child because of either abortion or miscarriage, and you're feeling sad. Today's program is going to have solutions for you to get you out of that depressive, sad feeling and give you positive resources that you can have and tools that you can get other people who might be feeling that same way. Well, joining me today is an expert in this field. His name is Kevin Burke, along with his beautiful wife, Dr. Teresa Burke. They co-founded Rachel's Vineyard. So, Kevin, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Nice to be with you, Jen.
Great to have you. And like I said at the outset, let's first define. Of course, in a miscarriage, the mother had no choice. This was a baby she wanted to have, and circumstances happened. She miscarried. And then in an abortion, of course, people say, well, the mother chose to do that. And if we know from our experiences, so many of these women, it's not about freedom of choice. That many of them are pressured and forced and this and that. So here we have Christmas. Everybody's happy. Everybody's hanging stockings with their children's names on it around the house, buying toys and presents. What impact does this have on a mother who's had this pregnancy loss right now, right before Christmas?
Well, I'll speak to those who have experienced abortion loss.
Right.
Okay, first, then we could talk about the miscarriage part. But in Rachel's Vineyard, you would expect around the holidays, Janet, that things would slow down.
Yeah, quiet.
And
Right.
People are taking vacation, things of that nature. But actually, it gets kind of busy on the phone line around Christmas time, where we get a lot more calls that begin to happen with women, sometimes men, but primarily women, who are calling, and they're troubled by what they're feeling. And I'll give you an example, because Teresa took a call recently about this. So they called in and explained that they had a Christmas celebration, and the nieces and nephews were there,
Right.
and the aunts and uncles, and they were seeing gifts lavished on the children.
Right.
They were being so welcomed, the joy of the season through the eyes of a child. And it was triggering their own emotions about their own past abortion.
Wow.
And a child that wasn't there, that wasn't being welcomed into that family. And perhaps
Right.
they wondered if in their shame and fear that if that child would be welcome, perhaps in an unplanned, unexpected
Right.
pregnancy. So they're having feelings that are being triggered by just the natural events of the holiday.
And they're watching these children open presents, and they're identifying, well, my child, if I had not had that abortion, would have been fill in the blank, 5 years old, 6 years old. So those cousins that are opening presents are being denied the presence of my child, and therefore I'm being denied the fun of watching my child open the presents. Now, you mentioned you get calls. What's that hotline number that people could call right now while we're speaking?
Sure, 1-877-HOPE-FOR-ME.
Okay, that's 1-877-HOPE, the number 4, me.
Yes.
And the people are standing on by, Teresa Burke and others, psychologists, experts, they can talk to you so that you don't have to be there sad, crying all by yourself and think, no one understands my pain, no one understands how I feel, right?
Yes, and this, of course, can be true. Someone may have a couple children and be enjoying the holiday with them and seeing the joy that the children are experiencing. They might have a 2 and a 3-year-old, and maybe they had an abortion in their college years or in high school.
Right.
They can also have a bit of a pain about they're enjoying their present with their children, but there's a melancholy, there's a regret that child, they wonder, that child would be
Right.
this age then.
Right.
And they never got to experience that. At the same time, the whole holiday is about welcoming the Christ child, this very special child, this blessing, and that child, for whatever reason, at that time in their life, was not welcome. So those themes are very strong during the holidays, and so they tend to come to us and share about that.
Well, and then, besides the mother who's having those feelings, then there's the father, the dad. He's impacted too. And it's very often, don't you find that men, they stuff those feelings way down and try to ignore it. But sometimes some of these men around the holidays might be feeling, and maybe their wife doesn't even know that they had a pregnancy, an abortion, maybe when they're in college, and now they're acting weird. Talk about the men.
It can be very confusing because sometimes men are a little more distant from their emotions, and maybe
Right.
they deal with it a little differently than women do. But they have very strong feelings about their abortion experience, even if they're not even conscious of it.
Wow.
So if you're a man and you were involved in a past abortion, you might find during the holidays an increase in some feelings of depression,
Right.
anxiety. You may find you're drinking a little more than you normally do.
Right. To mask the pain.
Yeah, you might be gambling a bit more if you're involved in sports betting. You know, you could see certain kind of behaviors increase during this time.
Magnify
You might not
themselves.
even associate it with that abortion law. So it's important sometimes to make that connection so you can then get the help you need.
And again, it could be mothers or fathers can call. The hotline number again is
1-877-HOPE-FOR-ME.
Okay, perfect. Now, of course, I've had a lot of experience too with grandparents, and in particular, you know, with the grandparents. Some grandparents took their daughter off for an abortion, so they were responsible for the death of their grandchild. Others had no knowledge of it. But I have one story I'd like to share. A mom who took her daughter out for not just one, not two, but 3 abortions. Okay, because her daughter was just a wild child, as you want to say.
Yeah.
And then years later, they went through an abortion recovery program together. And what happens now at Christmas, this grandmother, she had these beautiful stockings she made for her grandchildren that were alive, born, and like you're saying, opening the presents. After going through an abortion recovery program, and they named those 3 children that were lost to abortion, she made stockings for those 3 children.
Wow.
And now on her mantle, she has 6 stockings, 3 for her living grandchildren and 3 for the children that they named that were part of her daughter's abortion.
My.
So the grandparents too then are affected at this time of year.
Yeah, what a beautiful, powerful witness that is to the family members.
Yes.
That this is no longer a secret. This is something we acknowledge. This is something we've been able to grieve together.
Right.
And you know, we know that secrets in families can be toxic they tend to be very toxic over time.
Right.
That's setting a beautiful example for the family, acknowledging those children. It's also a beautiful pro-life witness.
Right.
Acknowledge the humanity of those children. So, yeah.
Well, and that's what this grandmother said. She said, you know, I never realized how damaging these abortions were for my daughter until I saw her behavior keep spiraling down, down,
Yeah.
down. And then finally she got to the point where I said, you've got to get some help. We got to get help. And so she said, well, we have to get help together. You know?
That's a really good point because oftentimes grandparents might need to take the first step and attend to Rachel's Vineyard. Your son or daughter may not be ready yet for the healing journey, and you may have such strong feelings about your own role in the abortion or your inability to stop the abortion that you might need help and healing to deal with those feelings and emotions. So you go through the healing process first, and we find that then you're in a much stronger position to know how to best reach out to your son or daughter.
That's
so
right.
If you have been involved in an abortion decision as a grandparent, you're welcome on
Rachel's Vineyard.
Rachel's Vineyard.
And they can find where and when is the next retreat, going to abortionforgiveness.com.
Yes.
Put in your zip code, and it shows you where's the nearest Rachel's Vineyard program to you. And you know, sometimes, Kevin, people will say, well, I don't want to go to abortion recovery in my hometown. I'm afraid someone might know me.
Yeah.
And so you can actually put in other zip codes or look in other states, because Rachel's Vineyard is all over the United States and actually all over the world. I think you guys are in like, what, 75 countries now? And the retreat manual has been translated into about 25 different languages.
33 now.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know there were that many.
It keeps growing.
Yes.
So we really want to impress on everyone, yes, the holidays are joyful, but they can be sad. We are here for you if you're hurting, right?
Absolutely. Don't, you know, one of the things when we get a call like that, Teresa was sharing me the other day, that she'll say something simple to them and say, you know, what you're feeling is natural.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and just affirming that it's okay what they're feeling. They're not alone. They're not crazy. Oftentimes then tears begin to flow.
Yeah.
So behind all these powerful emotions is grief that needs to be processed in a healthy way.
Right.
Oftentimes an abortion healing program is a place where you're going to be able to do that safely and effectively.
Right.
And on the other side of that, grieving is tremendous blessing and healing for you. But that for even just that initial call and getting that initial affirmation of what you're going through, sharing those emotions, that's healing in and of itself. So don't hesitate to
call.
To contact us.
Yeah, and of course, right behind Christmas, we have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and you know, just so people understand, unfortunately, between Christmas and New Year's, that's a very high suicide time. It is. The calls at those hotlines go up.
Okay, yeah.
And unfortunately, some people commit suicide this time of year because of this feeling of depression. So we also want them to understand that New Year's Eve can also be a very difficult, if you've had a bad year, maybe you had a pregnancy loss and this has been a terrible year for you. New Year's Eve becomes very, very sad time.
Yes.
And again, your hotline will be operating too on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So they shouldn't feel that they're alone, right, Kevin?
Yes, and I think when people are telling their stories about whether they've experienced abuse in their past, or there's alcohol in their family, or divorce, or abortion, oftentimes is part of that as well, they talk about the most painful thing was feeling alone.
Right.
Feeling isolated, not feeling other people were enjoying themselves and happy, and there they are suffering. So
Right.
you want to avoid the temptation to isolate yourself, and to kind of isolate and then kind of allow that despair and darkness to increase within you. It's hard to do this, but you got to reach out. Take that first little step, and then you're going to get stronger and continue to reach out.
That's right. And if they go to that hotline number for help, they will give them that first step to kind of snap them out of it and help them realize you're not alone, right?
You're going to encounter someone who is going to speak to you with charity, without judgment, and with the love of God, and you're going to feel that in that communication.
That's right. Well, thanks, Kevin.
You're very
and
welcome.
I have to say Merry Christmas
Merry
and Happy
Christmas.
New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Well, brothers and sisters, I hope you found this helpful. And please, that hotline number, 877-HOPE, the number 4, me. Please reach out to people you know who might be a little sad and depressed because of a pregnancy loss. We are here for them 24/7. You don't have to feel that you have to deal with this pain alone. And believe me, it'll be a much better new year for you if you seek the resources that are here for healing. This is Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Merry Christmas and a happy and blessed New Year. Thank you.
Powerful new voices are arising in the debate over abortion. The voices of those who have actually experienced it. From coast to coast, women and men who have lost children to abortion are speaking out about its pain and devastation, and about the healing and forgiveness they have found through the pro-life movement. Their witness is changing hearts and minds. Former U.S. Senator Zell Miller writes, "The most poignant sight for me at this year's annual pro-life march and demonstration in Washington, D.C. was the large number of women holding signs saying they regretted their abortions." Celebrity Kourtney Kardashian says, "I looked online and I was sitting on the bed hysterically crying, reading these stories of people who felt so guilty from having an abortion. I was reading these things of how many people are traumatized by it afterwards.